Enjoy our shows? Follow the Mercado Airwaves crew all over social media. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. On Instagram, Nicole is at Typing When Tipsy. Alex is at Mercado2121. Mike is at Mike Mercado2333. And our true crime show is at Murder Mysteries and More. And on Twitter, Nicole is at Typing When Tipsy. Alex is at Mercado21Alex. And Mike is at MMercado2333. You can follow the network at Mercado Airwaves. Follow our pop culture show on Twitter at Good Brothers Pod. Get us on the go by downloading our programs anywhere you get your favorite podcast, like iTunes, SoundCloud, Podbean, Stitcher, and other popular sites. Just search us at Mercado Airwaves. While you're at it, please like, rate, review, and share us with your friends. Visit us on youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. Click the subscribe and like button to get notified every time a new episode or interview is posted. Support Mercado Airwaves by visiting patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home of our interviews with athletes and celebrities, which you can get ad-free and early before it's released to the public. Come play video games with us on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. Mercado Airwaves is powered by Munch Art Design. Like them on Facebook at Munch Art Design. Voiceover work on Mercado Airwaves is performed by Josh Fox.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Good show. What is happening, friends? Thank you for joining us on the third annual MLB preview. I am here with the one and only Paul Chivari. Before we move on, I want to say a quick congratulations to Paul, first of all, on you with the new child announcement. Congratulations on that. And since the last time we had you on, congratulations on the new job here in the city of Chicago, WCPT 820 AM Chicago. So, Paul, welcome back into another time where we put our heads into the guillotines and we make our predictions. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful, man. It's fun to do this again. And as always, it was a fast off season, but at the same time, it felt like it dragged on forever, waiting for Manny, waiting for all these different news outlets to drop the news on there. But sure enough, we finally made it, man. First pitch is about 20 hours away, 24 hours away for some teams, even less for other teams.
Oh my gosh, what we're like, while you and I are recording this, it's almost less than 15 hours, I want to say,
so
until things get going. Like, I think like Mets and Yankees get going early.
The boys in black and white start at what time?
They're 3 o'clock in Kansas City.
And the boys from the north side will be at 3 o'clock in Arlington, Texas.
So it's going to be Rangers,
so it's going to be a fun time to start the season. So on this year's edition of our preview, you know, Paul, we're going to do this every time you're able to. Maybe if you need to get away from the crazy babies crying and all the political talk here in Chicago as the mayoral race goes and finishes off. We'll have some baseball episodes, but I think on today's and this year's MLB preview, we're going to be a little bit more structured. We want to give the fans a reference point to kind of go back to as the season moves along forward, so they kind of go back to and see where our mindsets were in the first day of opening day compared to what will be in July, August, September, as the season just moves along. So why don't we go ahead and start off with the new rule changes that are coming around in this MLB season. And I really wanted to get your opinion on this because there's always been this weird notion that baseball is behind the times when it came to technology and when it came to the reviews. And I want to know from your point of view, before we get into that, what did you think about baseball making its drastic decisions about how many guys a pitcher has to go against and the managerial changes when it comes to an inning? Like, what just in general, did you think they would move as fast as they did?
No,
with this?
I think it's not focusing. Baseball's not focusing on the right things. You know, they keep talking about getting rid of the shift, which provides defense, which moves the game forward. They want a quicker game. You know, baseball is a boom, boom, boom sport. I don't care about the 3 outcomes. There's always something interesting going on in the game. You don't need to worry about selling that product. Make the ad times run a little bit shorter. Figure out a way to maybe during a pitching change, that's when you cut to a commercial, try and, keep the guy, 1 minute or whatever he gets out of the pen to get a few warm-up pitches. Having a pitcher go a minimum 3 batters, I would think you're going to see a lot of the fake injuries. Oh, he's got a little soreness.
Interesting, okay.
He's coming in, he's got a little soreness. He's wincing, pull him out.
But
one or 2 batters. You're going to see that.
But there is something to it, though, right? Like, there is this idea that you're 2019, and it's hard in the right place, but there are missed cases. I mean, I understand what they're talking about when it comes to any breaks, when they're talking about mound visits, where even I like the trade deadline rule, that there's one official trade deadline. There's no weird, the August trade deadline where you go through waivers. So I like that.
Yeah, I like that one.
July 31st is
the waiver deadline was always weird to me.
But let's moving away a little bit from the official rule changes, I want to get your idea of making baseball faster. And, like, inherently, I understand in today's day and age, you want to be able to keep people's attention. I don't think it's a problem with how long the game is. Everybody knows baseball's a long game. Mm-hmm. The Super Bowl lasts forever. WrestleMania is, for all you wrestling fans, just a few weeks away. It's going to be a 7-hour show. People will watch whatever, and they'll jump in and out, and with things on demand. People, that's not the big deal. What I think is a big deal is I tried watching the games in Japan. I was blacked out.
Oh, I couldn't get up that early. I mean,
What sense does it make?
4:30 is too early for me.
So I understand trying to be global, but where's your moneymaker at? What are you trying to do to make sure that the sport is accessible? If a big hit, if Odell Beckham has a sick touchdown reception, and I'm not watching the Giants game, I will be able to see it in 30 seconds on Twitter. And it won't be from fans stealing it. It'll be from the NFL's account, the Giants account. That's not how baseball works. I like what the Cubs have done this offseason with their YouTube channel. I think they're one of the first teams to really go multimedia, and I think – who I think I would love to see is the White Sox, just because they have such a badass logo and they have such cool players that I want to see that spice from them. But why aren't we doing that all around sports? Why aren't I seeing Mike Trout amazing highlights on defense and just crushing the ball when I don't get to see his game at 10 o'clock at night here? Why aren't they doing that? That's the problem with baseball. Not pace of play. It's accessibility to me. What do you think?
I haven't seen the YouTube channel yet, but I think that's it's brilliant. It makes me think of once again another baseball podcast where I'm talking about Liverpool. The way they capture their stuff on social media. There's one thing I'll always watch called Inside Anfield whenever they play a home game. I know it's more rare for a home game in soccer than a baseball where you have 81 in a year.
Right.
But you essentially they give you kind of a just a behind the scenes look while still featuring what happens in the game. But just like a nice, like neat live, like not live, but what happens the day of when they play a game.
Sure.
And I thought that was really neat, and I like when teams can kind of share what's going on with them. Like what is the story of the team this year? I think it's always neat to
behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, it's and just even thinking of it on paper, the story of each team. It's just like so it's cool that like the Cubs will at least give you like an insider's look at it.
And I think it's just important to get to know your players. And, like, when you're somebody like Bryce Harper who has a new deal, I think it's important for Philadelphia to make him accessible to Philly fans. I think Mike Trout is the best player in baseball, maybe the best player in his sport, in all of sports. And he doesn't get the same recognition that Steph Curry does. Or that, let's say, somebody like Saquon Barkley, a rookie, everybody knows who he is already if you're in the sports world from the Giants. Opposed to Mike Trout is the best player in his generation. And I wonder if more people know a Todd Gurley, a Saquon Barkley, like a Baker Mayfield than they do Mike Trout. And it's just the accessibility. Like we see them more. They're just part of our pop culture much more than these baseball players are. And I don't think it's their fault. I think it's the league's fault.
I think that's part of it is Mike Trout too, though. He's
fair.
He doesn't strike me as the type of guy that wants to be kind of in the spotlight.
Right.
He's happy with his like weather and playing baseball. Mike Trout's amazing. I don't know. It's just a unique thing. I'm trying to think of like marketable baseball players.
Well, look at what
like Bryce Harper, I guess, is one.
Probably Aaron Judge now has.
I would think Judge. Yeah,
but like I'm looking at guys like. Javi Baez. I'm looking at guys like Eloy. There's eventually these guys who are going to have big markets behind them, but I don't know if people get behind them because, and we know somebody in this business who says it's because they don't speak the language. Well, I'm like, baseball is its own language, though. It's like having guys with high energy and not having guys like, I think Brian McCann, the former catcher, telling, get off my lawn baseball. It's like, have fun. Kids love the NBA because they can emulate Steph Curry doing the arrow thing or doing the jiggle move. You could do LeBron James push down and do Michael Jordan's chalk clap. These are things you can emulate. You can emulate a player's batting stance. But this idea of, like, you don't have the same swag that other sports do. And I think they get in their own way. Is my problem with baseball. And I think this offseason you've seen that with how long it took people to sign. I mean, the fact that we got to March and Bryce Harper signed. Like, it is
a long winter.
It's a long winter. And the fact that you got dragged for all you White Sox fans to February.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a whole weird thing. I was kind of happy that we didn't get Harper Machado.
So let's go into
say
that.
We as a White Sox
right,
fan,
yeah.
But I mean, I got to stay objective here.
Well,
but
why don't we get into that?
I didn't think with the White Sox rebuild, I don't think the plan was to get those guys.
Well,
you always take them if you can get them. Sure, whatever. The White Sox would have signed one of them. Awesome, more power to them. But I think you could win without them.
That's a great point, and I want, or at least
and
that's
then
a great
you can
perspective.
spend money other places,
it's perspective,
pitching and all sorts of other things.
I don't know if I agree with you. I think you have to set a precedence of get your man, be part of the flag stamping. Be an organization that, even if it doesn't work out,
I think
I want you to
Machado
be there.
over Harper would have made more sense for the White Sox.
I agree. That's what I'm speaking more about the Machado thing.
Yeah.
Get Machado, get your man, move forward. Don't think about it. If it bites you in the ass in 4 years, that's fine. But for the next 4 years, people know that you came with the biggest thing on the table. And to me, that's important when you're them. The Red Sox don't have to do that because they'll do it next year if they want to, or the year after that. Same thing with the Yankees, Cubs, Dodgers, whatever. The White Sox play in Chicago, come up, goes to the table, bring up, and if you lose,
yeah,
it happens.
They might get a random free agent. I'd have to see the list. And now so many have re-upped. I mean, how crazy has it been? All of the major contracts, extensions.
That's what I was going to get into right now.
Yeah,
do you want to rank them a little bit? Let's go into some of them.
Right off the top of my head, Trout is number one.
Okay,
no matter what. So and before that, it was average years was Arenado and the Harper, of course. The amount of years.
Sure.
But Harper's average wasn't as much as Arenado, who I think had an 8-year extension.
And now
when that happened, I think kind of early, and then since then. Trout comes up with the most amazing contract ever. Oh my gosh!
And I still think it'll work out for him, for the organization as well.
Good for him, very good for him. He deserves
it. Work out for them.
If they're going to pay baseball players that much, good for him. But I've always been of the belief that you do not need to pay baseball players this much, and this is going to lead to a union thing. And if they don't address it at the union, I'll be very upset. They need to figure out a way to not have so much control over the youngsters. Which I as much as I love that you own a guy for 6 years. To just you got to hope if he gets good, then that's when you're getting him ready in the minors, and then all of a sudden 4 years, 3 years for whatever the time is for most guys, you get them up in the majors. Go ahead.
But my biggest problem, it's not my biggest problem. It's you have to just solidify your organization. You can't sit back and rely on what today's baseball is, where we're just going to get young, we're going to be able to control contracts. It is still a business, it's still an entertainment, and I think what's more important is these contracts, if they continue to go up, if they continue to make as much money as they are, if these organizations are with merchandise and TV rights and wherever we're heading for in the multimedia age, these contracts will look good. Now, what I'm interested in is let's set the presidents of Harper, Trout, Machado, Arenado, Goldschmidt, Verlander, all made that big money. Mm-hmm. Then you have the Eloy, Kyle Hendricks level where they made good at paper.
Don't forget about Chris Sale.
Chris Sale,
DeGrom, I think, got paid.
Jacob DeGrom, just for all you who are listening, Jacob DeGrom just a few hours ago. Maybe it was yesterday. Got his deal with the Mets. So,
and this is just crazy that all of this is happening the way it is. I mean, Craig Kimbrell's still not signed, right? Keuchel's still not signed. You're right. Mm-hmm. How crazy is that? That you would think that Dallas Keuchel would be on a team starting opening day in 2019. Maybe not starting on opening day, but
starting pitcher.
But I mean, he's a Cy Young Award winner 2 years ago and had a great year. Not a great year, but he had a decent year last year.
I totally get it.
He hasn't faded completely.
Sure. But it's just
that's going to be a valuable piece for some team.
That's where we're at in baseball
this season.
But that's where we're at in baseball, though, is where they
and think of Kimbrell too. Any bullpen that just needs that one extra guy. Sure, maybe he's your closer, maybe not. But you have a guy that can get guys out, but now he has to face 3 batters.
Right? Yeah, that's a good point. And I think people are just so afraid of the drop off that they have when it comes to bullpens and when it comes to these pitchers that are hard throwing. So I'm really interested to see where they end up. I mean, we're opening day and they're nowhere. So you got to think about it. If they do sign somewhere, they're going to have a spring training. So they're going to sign with somebody and not play right away. It's going to take them some time to get onto the field. So it's interesting to see if anybody even bothers this season, or if they wait till closer to summertime, or we're ready to make a postseason move, extended rosters. But in your opinion, though, who do you think won the offseason? In my opinion, I think it's the low key. The Cardinals kind of won the offseason with Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, he's probably the best first baseman.
That was big for them.
I don't know if you pay first baseman as much as they did. But it goes against the argument of,
Paul
for
Goldschmidt.
Me, you get your mans.
Yeah.
Pay your mans, get it over with. If it doesn't work out for them, whatever, they got their guy. Got their guy. It's Paul Goldschmidt. They got their guy.
It's been a weird offseason.
But I wonder how much you think it has to do with the fact that the union and the bargaining agreement's coming up.
Teams don't want to have. Yeah, that has a lot to do with it. Yeah, I would say so.
I wonder.
I think that it influences why team on a sign franchise.
Not right now, like that.
Yeah.
But they're also getting the extensions that if we have a labor union breakup,
still got him.
You got your guy, you got your mans, and it goes back to what I'm saying. Like, this is what sucks about the White Sox. Had you known that Eloy would have had the extension, if he would have had they signed Manny, this idea of having Manny, having Eloy right away, if this was always in the works, was this in the works though post Manny? That they were like, you know what, we have to do something. And if he was willing to play ball, awesome. I will, and we'll get into it, I will say where Eloy probably won in this extension is he bet on himself in the sense of there's the options and everything, but we've seen him get injured already. And in today's baseball, we don't know. I mean, we know in sports, like Chris Bryant went from MVP to busted shoulder, and now people are questioning how he's coming back. It happens all the time. And you don't know where these contracts are going. Now that you know what Mike Trout made, now that you know what Bryce Harper made, now that you know what Manny Machado made, there's no way Chris Bryant's going to make that same type of money. He's going to be in the ballpark, but he's not going to make more than them. So Eloy's sitting there and be like, unless I'm Mike Trout, I'm not making that money. But I can make $63 million in I think it's about 77, but 43 officially until the options.
It's such a great deal for the White Sox.
But for him too, like he's secure.
Oh, yeah.
He could play ball now.
Young man, and then not even have to worry about like. I think it's a nice move by the White Sox, like gesture. It's a nice gesture by showing him and other young guys like, look, okay, he was upset about the service time, like we took care of it.
Right, and the thing is,
like, we believe in him.
That service time is going to be the circle point of this.
Not all people are going to get that treatment, but the White Sox really believe in him. And I
Chris
think
Bryant didn't.
His bat is supposed to keep him in the game. It should be good enough, and I think you get a value guy if he can stay healthy to play the field, DH, first base, whatever you got to put him at. You got Eloy Jimenez for the next 7 years?
7 years, yeah. So let me ask you this: let's go ahead and wrap off the offseason with, now that we've seen all these deals and we've seen extensions, so we have the signings,
the other call-ups. Fernando Tatis is going to be starting for the Padres or playing for the Padres. I didn't
think we could bring up his name on this podcast.
Why is that?
Because of how much he hurts you, hurts the souls of White Sox.
No,
whatever. I look at it. I mean, my heart hurts every time I see 74 dinger one off of one.
I can't wait to see Vlad Guerrero eventually not be a third
baseman
baseman anymore.
Oh yeah, I know. But I do, man. I'll tell you one thing. That's one guy. You and I always have this conversation. That is the one player I always thought was going to be a Cub, was Vladimir Guerrero, the daddy. And never happened. I'm like, I loved him as an Expo. I loved him as an Angel, and it just never came up that way. But wrapping up the offseason, Paulie, I want to ask you this. Now that we've seen all the deals, signings, extensions, the next big name is Chris Bryant. So everybody's looking at what's going to happen with Chris Bryant. Is he going to sign an extension? Is he the next one on the board? Does he bet on himself and wait and wait and wait? He doesn't have the advantage that Bryce Harper and Mike Trout had. Bryce Harper was a 26-year-old going into free agency. Chris Bryant's going to be almost 30 after the years of ball club action. He's an older player. Yeah. He came up older. You got to remember, Bryce Harper became a national at 19 years old. He's been playing Major League Baseball since he was out of high school.
Yeah,
Chris Bryant made the rounds through.
Well, it's Scott Boras, right?
Yes.
Okay. Depends what Scott Boras is telling Bryant. Part of me thinks he's going to test free agency, but like part of me thinks too, or like after all these signings, now Bryant's like, all right. You offered me what you offered me. I turned it down. Now you've seen what the
market is.
How bad do the Cubs want Chris Bryant to be the future?
Give me a number. Give me and not what.
Let's see how he does this year. Let's see how he does this year. Okay. But a number.
Not what you think they're worth, kind of
whatever the market is with all those guys. Machado.
So he's there
or not? Yeah.
He's there.
Oh, totally, okay. Absolutely. Not Trout, but
nobody's Trout.
Yeah. Maybe not Harper, not there yet, but let's see how he does.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's the thing is this is a big year for him.
Aaron Judge is the other one.
Coming off the injury, he's obviously had a great career ever since he came up. 2015 he came up.
2015 was their first year where the babies were all up.
They've been winning since he's been up.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's true. Okay,
yeah. I mean,
I'm interested to see it.
Let's see how he comes back from this injury. If he's doing it again, the Cubs have to pay him.
They
have to.
No, you're right.
They have to.
And
you're going to build your franchise after Chris Bryant. You got to do it.
And we'll start transitioning a little bit to more of the local stories here, but it kind of has to do a little bit with the offseason. There was a report that came out from Bruce Levine talking about the Cubs should extend Anthony Rizzo. And a lot of people were like, okay, but the problem is it's not extending Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo's under control, and he gave him a hometown discount. The real problem then becomes is you can't play. Eventually, you're going to have to decide who you're going to pay and who you're not going to pay. And I think the obvious choices are they want to pay. They want to keep Chris Bryant. They want to keep Javi Baez. I think those are the ones that you kind of feel. I think they like Albert Almora a lot, but he's not in that tier where he's going to make that type of money that they're going to break the bank. I just wonder if you're having that conversation or if he's hearing whispers or there's some smoke with that. I wonder how much they really are thinking about signing Chris Bryant. Maybe for all we know, they're going to play the arbitration game. Maybe they really just will play the arbitration game all the way through.
I hope the Cubs don't nickel and dime Chris Bryant. That's terrible.
But there's a world in which that happens.
I mean, that's the thing. It's and if the Cubs do that, trade him at some point. Get something good out of it. You would have to,
right? Yeah, it would make the most sense.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about Ian Happ being brought down to playing to AAA? Like, he had a bad slash line. Like, it was horrible.
Happ just kind of disappeared a little bit last year for me, and I think if it helps, I thought he was a good ball player and he was up, but.
Do you think the emergence of David Bodie kind of hurt his stock?
Yeah, that probably did. Yeah, because Bodie's bat. Saw him slug a home run in spring training the other day for him.
Yeah. Very solid.
Yeah,
very solid at bat. It's going to be interesting to see where this. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more locally. It's going to be interesting to see a little what happens with Joe Madden on the hot seat. You have the front office, and it was on The Athletic, just reported, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago, that the front office will be in the clubhouse more often. They will travel with the team much more often. It seems like there's a philosophy change. And if you're looking at the roster, there's one thing you're hearing a lot in sports conversation about the Cubs. They're Joe Madden-proofing this team. They're making it hard for Joe Madden to tinker and play with it in ways that something is detrimental to this team since the World Series. I'm one of these guys that gives them a little bit of a break because he was in the World Series and they won the thing, so you get benefit of the doubt. But they do make weird choices. He does use arms very interestingly. He does do
I don't know. I think Joe Madden's the type of manager that can work with whatever he's got.
I agree. I totally agree, which I think that's why they're doing it this way.
I don't know what a Joe Madden team looks like. I could imagine utility guy, stolen bases,
athletic.
He moves the ball, athletic, yeah. The Cubs have kind of in some way represented. I mean, he was given a great team. I think he still has a good team.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the Cubs are bound for a drop-off. It just feels like it's going to fall off the rails for me. Especially in that lame duck year with Madden.
I think
it could fall apart pretty easily.
But don't you feel like the bottom dropping off in lame duck year almost was what last year felt like, and that team still won 95 games? Like, no. At no point, and this is why I said at no point last year did the Cubs ever have a real good division lead. At no point did they ever feel comfortable. There was a lot of weird injuries. You had the Yu Darvish mess, Tyler Chatwood, it never felt good for the Cubs last year, which is why I think this year, I think what's interesting about this year is how stacked the division is almost takes the pressure off of them. In a lot, they don't seem like a wound-up team. They seem like a team that has a lot of what's the word? To me, this is what happens when the Yankees make it to the ALCS and don't win the World Series. This is what happens in Boston when they don't win the World Series. That you should have a little smoke and fire underneath the ass. You're the best team. You won 95 games last year. You shouldn't have been in the one-game playoff. You should have won the division pretty easily. You shouldn't have just came out like ass against Colorado. So it's one of these weird things where I don't know if it's a lame duck year as much of it's a prove it year. It might be the same thing. It might be semantics, but I think we're in a weird spot where we're watching a great team make its choice. This great team will either stay great or the bottom will fall out. But I thought we had a preview of that last year, and it still won 95 games with a stacked division that had the MVP. Will Milwaukee be as good? Here's the question. What's more – we've seen this since 2015. What is more likely to happen? Christian Yelich and that Brewers team are as hot and dominant as they were last year, or the team that's been the best team in the division since 2015 comes back and balances it out? Keep the Cardinals out of the conversation because I think that's the X factor right now. What's more likely to happen out of the scenarios that we're seeing between these two teams? What's more likely to play out?
Between what and what?
Milwaukee, Chicago. The fact that what is more likely to happen? The team that's been the better team in the division for the last 4 years?
I mean,
or Milwaukee's
a good team, but I think their pitching is going to be interesting this year. I think the Cubs, they have serviceable veterans, and if people stay healthy and the right chemistry clicks there with that team, they'll go places.
That's
they'll
what
win
I'm
the
saying.
division. Like they have enough of a presence to be able to win the division.
Where it might fall one way more than the other.
So many factors set it up to really fall apart for them this year.
And that's where I'm not so much more a definitive answer. It's more along the lines of the die's going to roll multiple places multiple times.
Yeah.
It's more the Cubs are more set up for it to roll in their favor than I think Milwaukee. Then I think Cincinnati.
See, but I think Milwaukee has some better attributes than the Cubs do, and that's the hard part about it. Is I think on paper Milwaukee's better, but I think the Cubs, the Cubs are just a veteran team. They're just so much veteran. They've won before.
Well,
they've had guys. Some guys are at different parts of their career now.
But no, it's true.
Yeah.
But we saw it last year. Christian Yelich got shut down in the NLCS, and Milwaukee didn't go anywhere. Milwaukee was driven off of the MVP season of a superstar Christian Yelich. The Cubs, and this is where it comes from having the benefit of watching the Cubs every day compared to me being able to watch Milwaukee every day. That's not when they're in town. We saw David Bodie single-handedly help them win a game. They have guys like that from 1 till 15 that can win them a game. I think Milwaukee has to play their best baseball for 162 games.
They got to figure out their pitching
to win.
Yeah.
And here's the thing:
there's so many questions with their pitching.
You did awesome research. Pacoda, doesn't like older pitchers, but the fact that if I told you, hey, Team A has John Lester, Yu Darvish, Cole Hamels, Jose Quintana, Kyle Hendricks as their starting five, you'll go with that team. You may not have the best pitching staff, but you have a professional baseball pitching staff. That's what this team has. So for 162 games, they stay somewhat healthy. They're going to bring – where I think the Cubs fall the rest of the division is the back end of that bullpen. That back end of that bullpen is going to be –
man.
But that's how they live by the season.
Who's the closer this year?
Probably Strop. It's probably
Strop.
Yeah, unless Morrow.
They're going to tell us it's Morrow or Brock or Cishek or
unless somebody shows up to Wrigley Field in about a month and a half and signs a deal. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. She's a free agent still. So I don't know. I will say this. We'll go into the X factor and we'll talk a little bit White Sox. The White Sox. I don't care about the division. I'm more about the feeling of that team in the South Side and what promise they have. We'll get to that in a second. But the Cubs, I feel, is a more conversation that we can have statistically and what the playoff picture is going to work out and whatnot. So I think a World Series representatives come out of this division. The NL's World Series representatives comes out of the NL Central.
I forgot who I had.
I remember,
but I didn't put down the NLCS, so maybe I did. No, I did.
Yeah.
It wasn't an NL. I didn't have an NL Central going.
I think you have an NL East team going to the World Series.
I do.
Yeah.
I hated that I did. It was interchangeable with the Dodgers.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I know it wasn't the Dodgers. I'm just saying the Dodgers are interchangeable with.
You said a special word, bottom falling out. I think the bottom falls out in a certain team in LA.
Yeah. They're predicted to win big,
dude. The fact that Clayton Kershaw,
they're built.
Yeah, but I think there's a reason why certain people didn't end up in LA. There's a certain reason why people didn't want to sign there, and I think there's a feeling where
Dodgers are going to win that division.
Oh yeah, that division. Yeah.
The division. Yeah. They're not going to get past the first round.
That's what I'm saying.
I think they'll just be like the Dodgers. It's like they gas out.
It's empty
whether
calories.
It's World Series or
it's empty calories. Like you beat up on a team long enough and you keep doing it. But the bottom is falling off of that team because who's their star player? The starting pitcher.
That'd be a shame because I thought they were going to win one there.
I'm glad they did. And I'm glad the teams that beat them out of it. And I'm glad that the teams that beat them are the ones that they did. I'm glad the Cubs kept them from one. I'm glad that Boston and Houston kept them from one.
Fuck LA. You hear that?
You hear that, guys? You can keep LeBron. All right, Paulie. So why don't we go ahead and let's talk a little bit of the divisions themselves. It's very interesting. I think we both agree that the NL Central is going to be a lot of fun. I think we both agree that the NL East does have some interesting prospects when it comes to Washington, when it comes to Atlanta, when it comes to Philadelphia, and obviously in the West Coast we know what's going on with LA. Very interesting to see that Arizona just completely scrapped everything.
I feel so bad. Steven Souza out for the the now.
Yeah. Really?
Freak injury the other night against the White Sox.
Okay. So when did that become official?
I didn't totally see it, but I guess MRI, all sorts of...
That sucks. That always sucks. But you know what? At least he doesn't have to waste a season in the...
ACL, LCL? Yeah.
Damn it. That's such a... At least in baseball, though, he will be able to bounce back from that.
Yeah,
at least comparative.
It's a shame to see Steven Souza. He's a good ball player.
Yeah. You know what? In today's day and age in the medicine,
that's a weird division. The NL West. I thought it would be better.
Colorado might still make a little bit of a run.
Yeah, and I think I have them pegged like not great this year, but they could make a run.
Yeah. Okay, so you know what, Paulie? For everybody listening to here on a very special edition of our 2019 MLB season preview, it's our third annual version. Paul Chivari, Mike Mercado here. Thank you for joining us on this Sports from the Couch. Make sure you guys are following us all over social media. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333, Instagram Mike Mercado2333, and on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. We will do a video version of this. I'm going to produce some stuff, but for right now, enjoy the video that we have up and the audio. Paulie, people could catch you on WCPT Monday through Friday. What time? Correct, yeah. What time is the show?
I produce Joan Esposito Live, Local, and Progressive, 2 to 5, Monday through Friday on WCPT 820. WCPT 820 AM Chicago. Yeah, you can WCPT820.com.
Yeah. But we'll go ahead and check that out. Yeah, and so make sure you guys are checking all that. But Paulie, let's go ahead and go into a little bit of division talk. Obviously, because we're here in Chicago, we will kind of focus a little bit more on the AL NL Central, but I do want to give a little bit of shout-outs for all you guys joining us on its MLB preview. So what I did is I put up a couple of Vegas odds that came up. So we'll talk a little bit about division winners, what's a good money bet, and what our heart and guts are telling us, what stats tell us, and also I want to get your opinion on who you think might be the MVPs and Cy Young. So Paulie gave me his predictions. I didn't write anything down. I kind of wanted to go with the seat of my pants, so kind of see where our conversation is.
Because we got other projected standings too. We don't want to go by mine, you know. And I honestly didn't even see them to make my opinion. So it's always nice to compare. I don't know how it compares yet.
And I actually really like Paul's list. I'm kind of taking a quick glance. I think the only thing I'm going to disagree with him on is going to be the NL Central. It's not going to be by much.
What do you think about the American League Central?
You know, the problem with the American League, I think Cleveland's gonna. Yeah, I think Cleveland has that.
Yeah, I think Indians is gonna. They're gonna drop off.
Indians is gonna. Did you hear with their owner? Yeah. Did you hear the making up parking lots? Shout out to Major League and Major League 2. Go watch that movie right now. Did you hear what the Cleveland owner talked about? He's not gonna pay high profile players. That it's not worth. I highly suggest it out. I didn't read the entire one because it was part of the Athletic Cleveland, but definitely check it out. It's really good, and it's just fascinating about these cheapskates owners that he had a window to win a World Series, and he's not going to put any money into what a team with Francisco Lindor to try to win a World Series. Like it is unbelievable.
And Jose Ramirez.
Shout out to good call. I leave it to you for the American League Central knowledge. I love it. But Paulie, let's go ahead and start it off. For this is Paulie's. This is not anything official. We're just kind of using it as a point of reference for conversation. But Paulie has the Yankees in first place in the AL East.
It was hard. I wanted to give it to Boston, but I gave it to New York. And even then, I think Boston has better pitching, but I just think they're going to be a little banged up this year.
Right. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll post up everything all over social media. You guys can actually see the win totals and whatnot. But just for sake of time, you guys, and nobody wants to hear numbers over numbers over numbers. He has the Yankees in first, Boston in second, Tampa Bay in third, Toronto in third, and Baltimore rounding out. And just for you guys to see, kind of the bottom drops off after Boston. Tampa Bay a little bit respectable. You think they're going to end up over 500, but it's going to be interesting to see what Tampa Bay does.
They always make
sense.
A push.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like they just always find a way to find the right guys, make a push, go with what they got.
So in my opinion, I kind of like the Yankees in that sense too. Like I think they're probably the better team in that sense.
This is so amazing.
But it's hard for me to go against a team that this is the only reason I'm going the Yankees over Boston is the slump that everybody goes through after winning the World Series. They kind of ran through the World Series.
I think there'll be some of that. I think Boston will be banged up just a little bit. Like
we've seen
a great team.
Yeah, we've seen it.
But they don't got to prove anything. They'll be hanging. They'll be good. But the Yankees will just be like the little. They're gonna try harder. They're gonna just give me a little scrappy dudes.
Exactly. And
it's gonna be a Yankees division.
Well, let me ask you this: the Yankees. This is where I think I find it so interesting for us being in Chicago, being so close to situations, and then obviously watching it from afar. The Yankees have more pressure than the Cubs do to win the World Series, and the Cubs and to us, we think they're completely on the hot stove. But the level of hot stove that Aaron Boone is going to go through, and then they have with Mike Judge, and obviously just the Aaron Judge, and the fact that Mike Judge from King of the Hill, Bobby, God, boy. So nice people, somebody good call.
Enjoy our shows? Follow the Mercado Airways crew all over social media. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airways. On Instagram, Nicole is at Typing When Tipsy, Alex is at Mercado2121, Mike is at Mike Mercado2333, and our true crime show is at Murder Mysteries and More. And on Twitter, Nicole is at Typing When Tipsy, Alex is at Mercado21Alex, and Mike is at MMercado2333. You can follow the network at Mercado Airwaves. Follow our pop culture show on Twitter at Good Brothers Pod. Get us on the go by downloading our programs anywhere you get your favorite podcast, like iTunes, SoundCloud, Podbean, Stitcher, and other popular sites. Just search us at Mercado Airwaves. While you're at it, please like, rate, review, and share us with your friends. Visit us on youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. Click the subscribe and like button to get notified every time a new episode or interview is posted. Support Mercado Airwaves by visiting patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home of our interviews with athletes and celebrities, which you can get ad-free and early before it's released to the public. Come play video games with us on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. Mercado Airwaves is powered by Munch Art Design. Like them on Facebook at Munch Art Design. Voiceover work on Mercado Airwaves is performed by Josh Fox.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
another day at the office, I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support. It's one of those things that they're in a totally different type of pressure than the Cubs are, or most teams in baseball. Like, the pressure that the Yankees have is even more than the Dodgers, I would think.
Yeah, I think the Yankees just have such a good lineup. I mean, there's always pressure to be a Yankee.
That's right.
It doesn't
okay.
matter.
It
You know that when you
sometimes.
sign to the Yankees.
Fair, okay.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, no, that's totally fair.
When you're a Yankee, you're a Yankee.
You're a Yankee,
Yeah.
Pinstripes is pinstripes. I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's a good point. All right, let's go ahead and move on to then the AL Central. Excuse me. I'm actually looking at some of these odds, and Paul actually did pretty good in for a guesstimation on some of these that they landed. But Minnesota, you have in first by 1 game. I will give you that.
Yeah,
over
I think
Cleveland.
Cleveland's gonna drop off. I really think they're
Cleveland?
not. Cleveland's gonna.
This is the worst division in baseball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like, don't take anything away. I mean, I think the White Sox are going to be a scrappy,
there's talent.
70-win team or whatever.
Yeah. No,
Whatever.
there's talent in that division, but
yeah.
like right now in
It's
this baseball, it's the worst division in baseball.
And maybe I'm underestimating Detroit. Probably the team I think I'm lowballing a little bit.
Yeah,
but and what, 4th place?
Yeah, 4th place with 69 wins, and then obviously Kansas City. Look at the difference between Kansas City and Cleveland. We talk about this every single year we do a preview. The difference between winning a World Series and not winning a World Series.
Yeah.
Like, just what it does different to an organization.
You know who's owned their ass the last couple years in the season?
The White Sox.
Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland, yeah.
Cleveland's owned Kansas City when you're talking about those two teams. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that you catch fire. Kansas City, Houston, the Cubs on some level, Boston on some level. Like,
well, it's hard to maintain.
You build from within, and you just get hot. Like Milwaukee. I mean, even though some of that was rounded out by free agent signings, like you build from within to really win.
You know what's a lot like that is March Madness. It's you set yourself up for the best seeding, for the best possible run that you can, and hopefully you're just hot enough. You have a good enough rotation and a bullpen that shuts things down. That it really does come down to it, and this is why I always tell you, like, it's easy to kind of round it down. Like, we know, and I always go back to the NL Central is the best division of baseball right now. We do know that at one of these 3 teams has a legitimate shot of putting themselves in a position to win a World Series. Whether they do or not is a different conversation. Comparative to the AL Central, maybe one team could put themselves in a good spot to make a good enough run to win a World Series. The reason the Dodgers have been in the NLCS so many years is their division has been bad enough that they accumulate all these wins. You get the number one seed.
I disagree with that totally. That you're saying the NL West has been bad, and that's why
year to year, I think.
No,
so. I
the
think
NL West has had
year.
great teams. Think about last year. Didn't they have to get into a playoff with Colorado, like a 1-game playoff?
I think both divisions ended up in a 1-game playoff.
The Central did with the Cubs and Milwaukee, but it was LA, Colorado that had to play.
But the year before that, it was Arizona, and the year before that, it's a rotation that switches. It's not anything that
It's a great division, though.
To me, a great division.
And now you see who I got second place in that division
in the
West, the NL West.
Yeah, Colorado. I mean,
I do. Okay, but tied
with San Diego.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I think they'll catch fire this year.
But
if they can get some good pitching, if they can cobble together good pitching, I think San Diego could really make a run this year.
I think there's a reason.
I mean, it's the National League, so anything's possible.
Right.
But, they won't get there, but they'll be interesting this year.
But I think it's the same reason why Houston gathered a lot of wins when they moved to the AL West. It's a thing where the West Coast baseball is just different baseball. The organizations are ran different, and the game doesn't change, but it's just
that really does make sense. I think about the way Seattle, LA, Oakland, San Diego. They all it's a different style of ball out west. Even AL, NL.
Comparative, but the reason why I kind of bring it up is when a team dominates in the NL or AL West, they dominate. They're the best team in that division by a long shot. Compared to Boston and New York, where they're always going at it, and every few years, Baltimore or Tampa Bay or Toronto will kind of bother them a little bit. Compared to St. Louis, which it was always a dominant division, but then you always have Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Milwaukee kind of make. To me, this is just again from outside because obviously I only watch more NL and AL Central than I do the West Coast baseball, but I always kind of feel that way where whoever is the best team in that division eats on the bottom feeders much better than the rest of the divisions in baseball. It could totally be wrong. The stats maybe show something different, but that's kind of how I feel when I see NL and AL West leaders that they fed on a lot of bottom feeders much more than the East and West, the East and Central winners.
Yeah, every division has
the bottom feeders, right? So it might just be perspective and just the big bad Dodgers in the West Coast that you don't see.
I don't. The Dodgers have been a really well built team.
Same with the Giants, though.
They've definitely, that whole division has a really good makeup. The whole of it, I will say the NL West is usually that one division I look at every year. I'm like, what's going on there?
And again, maybe it's just hometown bias. I always thought that was the NL Central. Wow, the Cardinals were the granddaddies of it. It was, since I've been around, and I was born in 90, since at least 95, 96, 97, at least since 98. Very sure 98 because of the wild card year for the Cubs. There's always been another team. There's always been somebody going against the Cardinals. The NL Central always has Pittsburgh when Andrew McCutchen was first coming up, and that series that they had with the Cubs in 2015. And I don't know, Houston with the triple Bs. It always felt like the NL Central had these powerhouses.
The Cardinals won a couple World Series. Cubs won one.
Albert Pujols dominated that division for the longest time.
Milwaukee had a couple of runs there, 08, 11 last year. Yeah.
So it's one of those divisions that always kind of feels. Unlike the AL Central, where I think they have really nice hitters, in the sense of when the team hits off that division, it hits off.
The AL Central has
for the longest time it was the Twins with Joe Mauer's Twins.
The 2005 White Sox and the 2015 Kansas City Royals. So at least
we got the two.
I know that's one a decade.
But sure, but you understand the difference though compared to when I think of
Tigers would go to the World Series,
right?
But
then we think of the AL East and we're like, oh, those are hitters, those are bangers. But it's only two teams. Mm-hmm. Wow, we could name all these teams from different divisions. The AL East has two teams that dominate. They just so happen to win a bunch of trophies at the end of each year. But we go ahead and finish off speaking of the AL West, we finish it off. Houston continue on their dominance right now in their era.
All these projections have Houston with the most wins at 98, the Pacoda and the Roto champ. Who do I have with the most wins out of the whole league?
Philadelphia and the Yankees, the Dodgers, excuse me, with 97 wins.
How do I have Houston?
Houston had 93 wins.
93, okay. Everyone has a 98. Okay. Either way, they're going to be a great team.
You could take away,
and they're going to have no problem with that division.
Yeah. No, that division, right now, Bassie's,
it's Houston,
AL Central or AL West, what's the worst division?
I think AL West has a non-competitive drop-off. I think the Central could get interesting, which is why I have Minnesota winning.
Right.
I think the White Sox could win the World, or not the World Series, but the division. I could see that happening by accident.
If they get
and that's the thing. Like this is the type of White Sox. Like I've seen White Sox teams look like this, do something like this. Like 2000. This reminds me of this. Like I'm not saying it's going to happen.
A left instead of a right.
To third place, 70 wins. I think they still got some things they got to figure out. But I could totally see a couple of things. They make a couple of trades now that they got a few things in place. They got some money to spend. I could see them making an accidental run to a division title, but I think it's Minnesota, Cleveland, White Sox, maybe Detroit, no way Kansas City, and I would doubt the White Sox or Detroit do it. It could be either Cleveland or Minnesota. I have Minnesota.
No, I can totally understand that, and if everything goes right, yeah, absolutely, because they have the talent. They have talent based on their team. Talent overcomes a lot of certain things.
Yep.
It only I will be more willing to make that bet next year, because I feel like they're going to be much more active in the offseason.
Sometimes I feel like I'm a year away on some teams, and this year it might be Minnesota, but I think they're there.
I think 2020.
They were a wild card team 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I think the White Sox are, and I know people are going to say
the White Sox. I'm talking Minnesota.
No, I'm talking about now that division. Yeah, but I'm saying this idea that you have them right now at 75 wins. I think they're going to overjump Minnesota in the next 2 years right away. Because I don't think Minnesota's going to do anything this year.
It could happen this year. That's an up for grabs division. Everyone thinks it's a slam dunk with Cleveland, and I'm saying Cleveland might finish second.
We acknowledge it's going to take a lot for the White Sox, for example, to make a real run at it, but you're not crazy for thinking they go left instead of right, they go up instead of down. When health here, somebody doesn't get healthy there, they're in the big dance. Even if it's the one game, even if it's a late September game, you're not crazy. But Paulie, in the NL East, we got Philadelphia in first place. You have the Mets in second, Atlanta in third, Washington in fourth, and Miami in fifth. I actually disagree with you here. I think Washington wins that division. I think Philadelphia.
Why does everyone think Washington wants to win that
Soto
division?
has a good chance of winning the MVP. They have a really good Washington. Let me ask you this: there's been times where Bryce Harper disappeared on that Washington team.
That's the most interesting division in the whole.
I actually agree with you on that. I think the best division is the NL Central, but I think the most interesting division is the NL East.
That's the one I'm watching this year.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see that.
I want the West to be great, but the NL East, I think, is the one where it's like that's the highlight of this year.
Does Bryce Harper really?
No.
Take that. Okay.
No, he will. I mean, Philadelphia changed their makeup.
Okay.
And it's kind of weird how they did it. It's like top to bottom, they got a great team. It's almost like how I feel about the Yankees, which is like, oh, that's a really good lineup. This is their first year together. Let's see with Gabe Kapler, Gabe Kapler is their manager
in Philadelphia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how that works out this year. It could be a really good team. I have them going to the World Series.
Hint. We'll get to that in just a little bit. And the NL Central, this is where Paul and I have the most agreeable disagreement having on right now. He has St. Louis in first place with 93 wins. Milwaukee can place the Cubs in third, Cincinnati in fourth, and Pittsburgh in fifth. I think this is one of those kind of like the NL East where if I sat back in September and we get to a point where all three of those are just jumbled around, it's more than likely to happen. I think the World Series representative comes out of this division. Just depends on
who. And you think it's the Cubs?
I think it's St. Louis.
Nah.
I think St. Louis and the Cubs actually play each other.
They got a few things pitching wise. I think they got to figure out.
I think the Cubs and Cardinals playing the NLCS against each other. I think the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals
anything can happen. That's what I love about the National League, and like that could happen.
Yeah,
there's a lot of realistic scenarios, and I could see that. I don't think the Cardinals are strong enough to make a World Series run this year. I just don't. I think they could win the division, and outlast everyone. I think Milwaukee could do it too. I think the Cubs.
I think all three of them. I think all three of them.
It's one of those three. I don't think Cincinnati has a shot, but they'll be a little spoiler. They always are, but I think this year they're really going to be like a thorn in everyone's side this year.
I think Milwaukee. I think I think the Cubs and Cardinals playing the NLCS, and I think it's going to be a great end. I think baseball would love minus a Philadelphia Dodgers. I think Cubs Cardinals would be a wonderful NLCS.
So say my playoffs.
You want then just really fast.
And I didn't do the whole thing. I didn't do the whole thing. I didn't do like wild card. Right. I think I just had like
that's great. Yeah, no. In the ALCS, you have Houston over the Yankees in a 7-game series. I agree with that.
We saw that 2 years ago. I think it'll happen again.
I actually think it's a 6-game series, but I agree with that.
No, the other one was. Oh, you think? This
I think it's going to be a 6-game
okay.
series, but I agree. I think Houston's going to the World Series, and I think and for Paul, he has in the NLCS Philadelphia in 6 games over the Mets.
Yeah.
I think you are insane if you think two teams of the the NL East are coming into the playoffs.
NL East is going to be interesting and good this year.
So
and I think the Mets are the sneaky team this year. They have so good pitching.
Oh no, for sure.
You build around DeGrom and Syndergaard and.
DeGrom was a great pitcher last year, and they did not remember he would have been 23-1 had they scored 2 or more runs in all his games. Like that's how dominant he was. But I think a starting pitcher can only do so much if your team just isn't that good. But we'll see what happens.
They have a better team this year.
I was going to say they do have a better team this year, but I don't think it's quite there yet because I think that division is going to eat each other a lot.
Let's see.
I know. But for me, I agree with Paul. I do have Houston and New York in the ALCS in a 6-game series. I have Cardinals and Cubs in a 7-game series. I have the Cardinals winning the NLCS. So in the World Series, he has the Houston Astros over the Philadelphia Phillies in a 5-game series. Alex Bergman is the MVP of the World Series. I have the Cardinals over Houston in a 7-game series. Paul Goldschmidt is your MVP because Paul Goldschmidt will also win the NL MVP this year. But Paul, this is where I want.
My wife will be thrilled if Paul Goldschmidt is the World Series MVP.
I agree with
the
you
Cardinals.
on right
holding hopefully our baby boy.
Yeah, I bet
Paul Goldschmidt, Chivari.
Yeah, right. There you go. We already know. Aaron Judge, you have him as AL MVP. I agree with that. I have Paul Goldschmidt as NL MVP. I agree with that. DeGrom, I agree with that. It's the NL Cy Young. Garrett Cole, that's interesting from Houston. It's the AL Cy Young.
I think he's going to be great. Garrett Cole's a great pitcher. I don't know. It's just I've heard a couple of people talk about him being really good this year, and that's not why I thought that. I'm just like, yeah, it makes sense. It's you could say Verlander.
I was going to go Chris Sale.
I was going to go Chris Sale too. I mean, I think do I have alternates of like?
For
all those I kind of I pick the guy. But I have guys that it's like, here's who's going to be in the conversation
and we'll have this all posted up all over social media. But as the NL Manager of the Year, you have Mike. I can't read your handwriting.
Schultz.
Schultz from St. Louis.
Yeah.
Which I guess I would have to kind of agree with just because I think they're going to win the whole damn thing. So I feel like they're probably going to have the best record in baseball.
Yeah, but keep in mind postseason has nothing to do with it.
Right. But if they win 94 games, he probably will be the Manager of the Year.
And I think that's how, it's. I feel like it's such a formula for how it is. Like, usually the second wild card team.
Yeah.
Or the team that's like, they weren't supposed to be that good.
But I think the wild card team's going to be the Cubs, so I don't think they're going to give it to Joe Madden.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm saying it's going to be the manager that got the most out of their team. And I feel like baseball's been really good about that over the years. But who do I have this year? Mike Schilt for St. Louis winning the division.
Yeah.
And who's the other one? AL?
Rocco
Baldella.
Yeah. So
Minnesota.
What do you think about Minnesota? But then you have really high on Minnesota.
Yeah. I have to. If I'm going, that was kind of it. I was like looking at it.
Right.
Well, Minnesota's going to be the biggest surprise if they win the division. And Rocco Baldelli, he's 37.
Yeah.
Rays guy.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the front office
does.
Minnesota
Former player, short career. Yeah.
Now, if you want to see who Paul has for the NL and AL Rookie of the Year, you got to follow us on social media to see it on the official page because I think that one I'm going to be a little bit more forgiving for you because God knows who's going to win the freaking Rookies of the Year of each.
I got it right last year. I think I had Acuna last year.
Oh, you might have actually. I have to go back and double check that.
I'm pretty sure I had Acuna last year on my
Now, Paulie, so we made our official picks. We know who we have winning the awards and everything. Now, it's not just that the state of Illinois will be looking to make betting legal in the state, so you can bet on your favorite teams. Hope maybe by 2020, when it's 2019. I know, right?
Yeah.
So while you made fun of me because you do know how close I was to picking the Cubs over the Cardinals, but I kind of for a pick I had to make an official pick. I went with St. Louis. Betting money though. The Cubs aren't a bad favorite to put money on to win the World Series. So just
what
some
are the
odds. So yeah, just some odds. So this is for the favorites. Obviously, if you want to make some real money, you would want to bet like the Mets, because they're right now they're at 2,500. Plus 2,500.
I wouldn't pick him to win the World Series, but that would be a fun one.
That's a
if
great
you hit on that one. Yeah,
but this is for favorites though.
This plus 2,500.
Yeah, this is on.
Oh my gosh!
This is on Action Network, and this is as of 3/27.
Like $5,000 for a $200 bet with the Wow.
Because you got to look at it right now. The Red Sox are at plus 700. The Astros are at plus 600. The Dodgers are at plus 700, and the Yankees are plus 500. So the favorites, like the true, that's where the money's going. The reason I bring this up as well, I think the Cardinals at plus 1,200 are a great bet, and I think they're my legit bet. You know who's plus 1,200? So the Sharks are thinking the same way? The Cubs. So it's one of those interchangeable things where I'm going to pick the Cardinals. I have a feeling they're going to win, But I think I'm gonna put money on the Cubs to win the World Series. So in your opinion, give you a second kind of petting. Let's stay away from Houston over Philly. Who do you kind of like? You have the Indians at plus 1,000.
Oh,
you have the Mets at 2,500.
So like teams that I would rattle off right now. Who's going to win the World Series in 2019?
Yeah.
Teams that could and
some
could.
good.
One
some
of these
juicy,
guys I'm going to name
spicy.
right now absolutely will. That's the hope here. Okay, so of course I had Houston and Philadelphia.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's go with them. L.A. Dodgers. I said they would be
And
there.
just for reference, at plus 700.
Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees.
Plus 700 and plus.
Yeah, they got to be up there. They're up at the top.
Plus 500. So the Yankees are the worst.
Let me know
bet.
if I've missed anyone at the top.
Do you
Cubs?
have
The Cubs are probably what, 7th, 8th on the list.
the Cubs are 1, 2, 3, 4. They are the 6th. They're tied for 6. They're tied to 6 with the Cardinals, Nationals, and Phillies. So again, when we talk about like that dog,
Nationals. I don't get the Nationals thing. I really don't.
quiet.
I don't
'Cause
think
they're
it's going to
quiet.
work. Well,
It's
you know
quiet.
why?
It's-
It's because I died on that hill
Last
for
year.
how many years?
Yeah, every
how many
show.
years did I die?
Yep.
And this is the good. You get rid of Bryce Harper
And now they're
you
gonna
got
win.
better? No fucking way. I'm telling everyone the Nationals won't do shit this year.
and watch them get to the World Series.
Everyone has them winning. I don't. Yeah, watch it. It's
great. That's
Seriously,
great bet.
I don't think it's going to happen.
But it's a great
You
bet.
get rid of Bryce Harper, you're going to be that much worse or that much better of a team where you get over the hump. No, it's not
This is
going to
why
happen.
I'm telling you, this is why I love this year, because I just rattled off 4 teams that are at plus 1,200. You're like, oh yeah, the Nationals can win a Philadelphia can win a World Series, the Brewers can win a World Series, the Cubs can win a World Series. Like, of course, why would I put money on the Yankees? Yeah, the Yankees can win a World Series, but you're not going to make money betting on the Yankees. You'll make money betting on the Nationals. You'll make money betting. How often you get to put money on the Cubs or the Cardinals and actually make some cash? Right now in this modern day of baseball. You don't get that chance because people are so high on the Red Sox and the Yankees. People think that Yankees lineup is so good. But here's the thing. In postseason baseball, things could get shut down really fast. A great pitching rotation get knocked around the ballpark, and a great hitting team could get shut down. We saw what Kenley Jansen did with the Cubs that one year. Like, a bullpen could shut somebody down. So I feel if you're going to make money, put it on a team. If you're making picks, that's one thing. But if you're trying to make money and you want to go a little bit chalk, I really like the Cubs. I really like the Cardinals.
Dodgers. I forgot all the teams I listed, but yeah. What are the Dodgers?
The Dodgers
again?
are plus 700, so
Yeah,
people
yeah.
really like them.
Who,
on that one.
who are the top two?
The Yankees at plus 500 and the Astros at plus 600.
Okay.
So again, like we're in the ballpark. We know who's going to be in there.
Phillies are 3rd, 4th.
Philadelphia right now is at plus 1,200. So they're right there with the Cubs, the Cardinals, and Washington.
All right.
Yeah, and the Brewers are just right behind
We'll
them.
see how it ends up.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
That's what I love about.
And then really fast, and for MVP talk right now, if you're looking to make some money, current odds, plus 650 for Bryce Harper, plus 850 for Nolan Arenado. How about this? How about some nice money for this? Chris Bryant at plus 900 and Paul Goldschmidt at plus 1,400. That Goldschmidt was nice, and I picked
Bryant that high. That could happen. That's
one,
big.
That's
big.
That's a nice one. Let's go to the AL really fast, brother. How about you're not going to make any money, but Mike Trout, just to show you how the difference. Mike Trout's at plus 150. Mookie Betts, who I love Mookie Betts, plus 600. That difference of you, like they're that.
Name off who I got. In the
AL
are we gonna
MVP
get that? Are we gonna? You said look up what rookie of the year. That's the teaser,
so we've already
only leave one out of one of the leagues. You got it. The other MVP. You got it. That's what you got to tune into. These the other MVP.
So if
what's the
you're
one you're
missing,
gonna name? The AL.
Yeah, let's
AL?
go AL because I think your NL is pretty funny too because
Okay.
I'm with you on the NL. I picked
Okay.
the NL one. Aaron Judge, and right now Aaron Judge is at plus 700.
And then
So you're right
who are the
there.
other two? I got Mookie Betts and someone else.
Mookie Betts and Mike Trout. Mike Trout's in second. Mookie Betts is at third. So you're right there. You know who the best players in baseball are. I love your NL because I actually. I love your number 3. I love your
Tune in
number
later.
3. I love that team though. I
Tune
love
in
that
later.
team though so much. But yeah, and just to show you, your number 3 is at plus 2,000. You can make some money on your number 3. And you're at number 3 National League MVP. Paulie, we've kind of gone through it. I can't believe we've already finished up another preview. We've kind of gone
we
through
leave
it.
anything on no stone unturned on this one? I mean,
Off-season
I'm
moves.
sure there's a ton we can unpack.
That's the beautiful thing about owning our own podcast. We can do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah.
Off-season moves, MLB rule changes, division picks, betting money, playoffs, champions, Cy Youngs, MVPs. Really fast, we teased it earlier on. We dug deep into what we like about this Cubs team, what we don't like about this Cubs team. I don't want to break down the roster, but in the next 3 minutes, let's kind of talk about the energy and the momentum that the White Sox have right now.
Okay.
It started off with a little bit of a
we
thud.
we never talked about the White Sox.
I wanted to wrap
That's
this
what we
up.
didn't unpack.
Yeah, and I wanted to, because I think this is going to be more of a case study throughout the season more than it is an opening day thing. I want to know what you're feeling, knowing that Eloy is up, knowing that Moncada had a better spring training, that you are kind of solidified in certain positions. It was kind of a bummer to see some of who was it? Not Giolito, but
Rodon?
Not Rodon. One of the pitchers has had offseason surgery and is going to miss all of 2000.
Dan Dunning?
Yeah. But we'll see with Magical, what happens with him. What is the energy to start the 2019 season for the Chicago White Sox, in your opinion, kind of what the South Side fandom is thinking?
Oh, I think it's the beginning of it. It's the beginning of all right, we're not expected to win, but all right, now this is what our team looks like. We've got Eloy Jimenez in the lineup, the everyday lineup. He's going to be there. It'll be a little bit before I think we see Nick Madrigal, but let's see how he does in the minors this year. Maybe he comes up in September. Maybe he doesn't. Yeah. Maybe. I don't think so. Maybe. Maybe he comes up next year. Who knows? Luis Robert.
I like Luis Robert.
Yeah.
Jose Abreu. They got a team. They got a foundation.
Yeah, Luis Robert won't be there, but I'm just saying that Jose Abreu is going to be there. Yohan Moncada. We'll see how they do. Daniel Palka can club it. He feels like a White Sox guy, between a Greg Luzinski and Dan Pasqua.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yeah. And listen to my podcast, The Karka Voices, with John Hooper.
I will not have these shameless plugs on my show, sir.
Sorry, I thought I should throw that in there. Got to give a shout out to John because we talk White Sox and it's such a great unorganized podcast where we talk White Sox and Raiders. It's a very weird niche podcast. So I'm sorry.
You just like being the bad guy. I get it.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry for anyone that if anyone's into a White Sox Raiders.
That's what's up.
White Sox Raiders and a little bit of everything. NFL, yeah.
No, I'm
Chicago,
with you.
yeah.
And I love what you just said though. And it just wants to bookmark it. I love what you just said though about there's going to be pieces that move up and down, but there's something there. Even I want to go and watch. I want to go see what this is.
I guess my question for you is, do you think the White Sox could be potentially good this year? Not great, good. Like where it's by the trade deadline, they're buyers.
No.
No.
I don't think buyers.
But can you envision that for me? For a second.
Sure. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's say they accidentally get there. Okay.
Absolutely. Let's say they start off 20-5.
Let's say it's they're up there. It's they need a little push pitching wise. Do you think they go for a guy like they?
No. I think right now. I think right now they want to be in the acquiring stage. I don't think they're trying to. I think what they're trying to do is develop. Okay, I think it's obvious from what they're seeing. I don't think
they're going at their own pace. I love it.
That's exactly it. So I don't think. Let's say they're in at the end of July, right? They're about to be at the trade deadline, and they're a game above or game behind, 2 games above, 2 games behind first place. I don't think you should go after it. What you should do is evaluate, add on, and go. I don't think you should trade away anybody right now. What do you do? The Cubs traded in 2015. They didn't do anything big. They waited to 2016. They got their closer. They got their final push with because they saw
if the right guy came along though.
Yeah, and if you're in a position,
who are some of my bottom teams? Just name a few of the bottom teams.
Baltimore, Kansas City, Texas, Miami. Again, but
4th place, 3rd place.
You have Washington, Detroit, Seattle, Toronto.
I'm just trying to think of a good pitcher that would be on the trade block.
They don't exist right now. Not like that.
Now that all those dudes got locked up.
Not right now.
Different. There's gonna be someone around.
The White Sox don't need anything in that sense. What the White Sox needs to do is develop. It's not I agree with you. If you're in it, let's say you have a big division,
and they just need that one more piece. They go for a starting pitcher, and just bump everyone down the list.
Totally, but just strictly thinking right now, they don't need anything. What they need to do is develop, stay healthy, and be competitive. Learn how to win, learn how to lose, learn how to win, and you'll be in it.
And this is it. This got to be the year. I mean,
right now
they can only go up from last year.
And I'm rooting for Ricky Renteria. I'm rooting for Ricky.
This is a big year for him.
I agree. I don't think
that's why I grew the goatee out.
Yeah, right. I don't think he's the manager of a World Series team for this White Sox team, but I really like Ricky, and I think the Cubs did him a little wrong.
The Ozzy thing. I'm going to bring back Ozzy.
But look, if he's the lucky charm that is the precursor to a team winning a World Series, then why the hell not? To help the Cubs, why not the White Sox? But I'm with you, buddy. Like, I think there's no reason to think that they can't be in it. I just think there's no rush in the sense of you got some pieces. This isn't football. You're not. The turnaround isn't crazy. Enjoy it. Right now. Enjoy it. We talk about pressure, and you say in the beginning of the show, the bottom might fall for the Cubs at some point. That's not the fun part. The fun part was 15, then it culminated in 16, and kind of like the journey to kind of get back to there. This is the moment for all you White Sox fans. Enjoy it now.
Yeah, this isn't 2015 for the White Sox, though.
No, totally. But this is the idea of, like, neither was 13 or 14 when they drafted Brian and it happened.
No, it's like an in-between 14 and 15.
But this is why it's important.
Where the Cubs were then,
right.
Like, that's where the White Sox are.
But this is why it's important. You have to appreciate it because it doesn't get more pure. Because when you start winning, expectations happen. And when expectation happens, contracts, egos, the way manager, like, things change because winning, some stuff comes with it. You look at the Cubs right now, everything was wonderful in 15 and 16, but once you win, the microscope is put under you. Right now, the White Sox, you go to the ballpark and watch Eloy be Eloy and not having to have 1,000 ESPN reporters there because they're on a road to 95 wins and trying to win a World Series for Chicago since X amount of years. You know, since 2005, since they won one. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of see what I'm saying? Like, it's different. The way Chris Bryant goes up to a bat is different right now than it was in 2015. Because he hadn't won an MVP. He hadn't won a Rookie of the Year. He hadn't won a World Series. The at-bat you're going to see for Eloy in 2019 is going to be completely different than in 2021.
First one.
See what I'm saying? It's totally different. So enjoy this moment. Because if they win a World Series, if it culminates to an entire World Series run.
This year?
No, in general. In this window.
Rookie season,
in this
well, it's
window.
Like Moncada. I was there his first game.
That's part of the moment, though. That's part of the process that you will remember when you're celebrating on State Street.
That's the best part about being a baseball fan of a team.
It's the part I love the most about the Cubs.
Getting to see, and that's I love the fact that there are. I was just saying this the other day to my son was. I love the fact that there's two teams. I hate the Cubs, but I don't hate the Cubs. You know me. I'm a White Sox fan. That's the only reason I was like, I'm a White Sox fan. I hate the Cubs. I don't love the Cubs. I'm happy that there's like another team in town. It's so great to watch these two teams. And like people say they're not in competition with each other, but like it's so neat to contrast them of how they do business because I think it just really kind of captures like, well, this is in the same sort of market how these two teams will and it's comparable but not comparable in the sense that I think the Cubs have a little bit more of an edge selling their product than the White Sox do. But the White Sox have always been a thing in this town.
Yeah. And they have a great product, too. Yeah. And the thing is, it's for all you nerds out there who listen to us on The Good Brothers, it's Marvel and DC. It's not like WCW versus WWF. They're not trying to turn each other out of business. No. The Ricketts aren't saying they'll be like, we need the Reinsdorfs off. And the Reinsdorfs aren't saying they'll be like, we need the Ricketts gone.
They're not concerned with what each other's doing, but there's a way to compare them.
But they lift each other up. The Cubs winning the World Series is the best thing that ever happened.
You notice every time there's a turning point in this town, like think after the White Sox won the World Series, the Cubs we're going to get Lou Piniella. Like not right away, but it was like they were changing their attitude right away. That's where Lou Piniella comes in. That's where the 07-08 stuff comes in, And then after the Cubs win the World Series, think of the White Sox. Total rebuild.
It's what you
trade
need.
Chris Sale, trade Adam Eaton. This is how we're going.
There should have been a red line series already. That's the idea because the fact that
not by now, but it'll happen.
No, the idea
again.
is like in history. The fact that the years that we've had these two teams in the city, it should have happened.
Well, it's happened. It's happened.
Yeah, in real baseball.
No, I'm just saying it's happened.
It's happened.
Least, but it's a different circumstance, but it's happened.
But think about it. Yeah. We've never seen what the Yankees. The Dodgers and the Giants played each other in World Series before, but it's never been the same as in when it's the 1920s compared to the Yankees and Mets going against each other.
Just the fact that Chicago can't compete, I guess, with New York and L.A. in terms of getting to the World Series.
That's the problem.
Over the last 100 years. That's the reason why. Both teams couldn't get to the damn World Series for so long.
It's upsetting.
But I think it's building towards that. I think those teams are being run better. When is old man Reinsdorf gonna croak? That's what I'm worried about.
It's going to be
then what happens?
That's a conversation, Paul. I don't want to gloom and doom.
I don't want to gloom and doom either. I met Jerry Reinsdorf. I thanked him. A lot of people don't like Jerry Reinsdorf, but I thanked him for all those championships.
I'm indifferent about Jerry.
I don't want Jerry Reinsdorf to go. He's a treasure. When he choked up and Paul Chivari gave him that ball,
I will say this. As a Bulls fan, he upsets me sometimes when he says
6
things
championships
for one World Series. That's what he says, though. I would trade all 6 for another World Series. And to me, it's like, no, you wouldn't because you didn't want to get your man. You love baseball more than basketball, but you love more money more than you like trophies.
Yeah.
The fact that you can sell the United Center out every single day, and you have people now going to watch a White Sox team that might be good, but more on time, maybe White wins 78, anywhere from 78 and 81. The fact that they found their superstar in Eloy, that's all he wants.
I think what he meant by that is just how hard it is to win a World Series.
And it wasn't hard to win NBA Finals 6 out of 8 years. I think Jerry likes money. I think Jerry, the consequence of money, probably wins championships. He doesn't mind. But if you tell him you could be sellout for 10 years or win 1 championship and have bad attendance the other 9, he's going to choose the 10 straight attendance years.
He did it. He proved everyone wrong. Everyone said the White Sox wouldn't win a World Series.
You got to give him that. You're right.
I think that's. I really think that's what he meant by it. Like, you know damn well. Like, I mean, like when I met him, and not a big deal. It was like parking lot years ago, like really quick. But it's just I think of a guy like that, and it's like I shook hands with the guy that has Michael Jordan on speed dial.
Sure, right? No, totally.
Yeah.
This is always talk about when you talk about quote unquote great men because they've done like big things. It's one of those things where like I'm nitpicking. Obviously, he knows how to run a business. He's won a World Series and 6 NBA titles. But because we're nitpicking, the White Sox probably should have won another World Series. The Bulls should have probably won 2 more championships. Like
maybe
he's the one
the
who
Bulls more so than White Sox.
Right,
but
fair,
either way.
fair.
But that's what he meant. That's all. Yeah.
Fair, but it's good fodder for good radio.
Yeah.
It is good fodder for good radio. Paulie, you have had such a busy day, and the fact that you came in here to do a MLB preview, and guess what's going to happen tomorrow? You're going to have another busy day because that's the life of us in radio, but you are amazing at what you do. I'm so proud of what you've done in Chicago radio, and then obviously what you do here whenever you join us on Mercado Airways Sports from the Couch, and more importantly, I'm proud of what Katie and what she's doing, and I'm so excited to see what you do moving forward with now this new motivation that you have. And I'm super excited to see how you're going to enjoy this last summer of quietness.
Yeah, not having a baby.
Yeah, but it's going to be fun for the 2020 season when little dude's around.
Hey, I'll be watching the World Series with my baby in my hand.
That's amazing.
That's amazing to think
Hopefully
about.
they're christening either Cubs or Cardinals. For Uncle Mike or for Mommy. Either one.
Hopefully he's a White Sox fan. That's what everyone wants out of him.
And you know what? Hopefully he's a White Sox fan so you can have some good old time with Daddy at the ballpark. I'm all for that. And if not, wonderful that he's a Cub fan because we get to rub it in on the old man's face and the mama's face every single time.
That would throw it off. Mom's a Cardinals fan, Dad's a Sox fan, he's a Cubs fan.
Universe, please. Just to balance the universe out, Dano style. Please make him a Cub fan so he can humble his wonderful 2 parents. Paulie, love you, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. You got anything to plug, man?
Well, yeah, I'm in WCPT. I'm producing Joe Esposito Live Local and Progressive, 2 to 5, Monday through Friday. The Karka Voices with John Hooper. We're only on SoundCloud. We're early on in our podcast.
We're on SoundCloud?
SoundCloud, yeah.
And what can they
look up The Karka Voices. So if you know Ron Karka Voice. Karka Voice, it's Ron Karka Voice. The Karka Voices.
So you Google it, though, and they'll be able to find it. It'll send it to SoundCloud. Okay, cool.
If you find it, God bless you. Yeah.
Okay.
No, seriously, it's great to be here. It's I wanted to be here for it. We've done so many phone calls. I've been here before. We had to do a season preview. I hadn't had a chance this year to really watch anything or prepare. I mean, trust me, I did my homework, and if you guys know me out there, I watch baseball. I really love baseball. Anyone can attest to it. My wife knows me better than anyone. She'll tell you, like, this guy watches a lot.
That's what happens when you work Chicago political radio, though. Time flies by,
Time
man.
flies.
Especially during
you
the
miss
mail
some
run.
stuff. So I'm going to try my best for everyone to really stay on top of baseball.
I'm so glad you were able to come into the studio, man. We've come a long way since the first time we've done the preview.
Oh, for sure, man. Honestly, this is so great to be here.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's go ahead and wrap
Love
this
you.
in. Love you guys. Later.
Enjoy our shows? Follow the Mercado Airways crew all over social media. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airways. On Instagram, Nicole is at Typing When Tipsy. Alex is at Mercado2121. Mike is at Mike Mercado2333. And our true crime show is at Murder Mysteries and More. And on Twitter, Nicole is at Typing When Tipsy. Alex is at Mercado21Alex. And Mike is at MMercado2333. You can follow the network at Mercado Airways. Follow our pop culture show on Twitter at Good Brothers Pod. Get us on the go by downloading our programs anywhere you get your favorite podcast, like iTunes, SoundCloud, Podbean, Stitcher, and other popular sites. Just search us at Mercado Airwaves. While you're at it, please like, rate, review, and share us with your friends. Visit us on youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. Click the subscribe and like button to get notified every time a new episode or interview is posted. Support Mercado Airwaves by visiting patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home of our interviews with athletes and celebrities, which you can get ad-free and early before it's released to the public. Come play video games with us on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. Mercado Airwaves is powered by Munch Art Design. Like them on Facebook at Munch Art Design. Voiceover work on Mercado Airwaves is performed by Josh Fox.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the office, I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.